I was handing y'all your boy Rico from Street Scores, and it's time to talk about the 7th round picks and some of these undrafted free agents that are pouring in. I'm gonna try to keep y'all updated. I'm gonna try to fit as many in this video as I can, but maybe we just happen to sign some guys a little later. Again, like I said, along with undrafted free agents, and I hope we sign like 5 to 8 of them. I hope we go crazy in free agency. I hope we sign Ereck Flowers back today on a cheap deal. We may end up just keeping Landon Collins, depends on what's going on, if he's willing to take a severe pay cut. And then Monday, just to let y'all know, that is the first day when your compensatory pick formula isn't affected by who you pick up in free agency. So before Monday, who you pick up, if you pick up a really good player in free agency, that decreases your points for your compensatory pick formula going into the next year's draft. But as of Monday, no matter who you sign, no matter how much you sign them for, they will not affect your compensatory picks next year. So expect things to really heat up Monday. I'm hoping we can snag Ereck Flowers before then, because I feel like another team may try to get him. And again, for Ereck Flowers' case, as of Monday, if a team signs him, that doesn't increase our compensatory pick odds, and that doesn't decrease the teams that gets him. So we might as well go ahead and get him before Monday hits, because it's more likely for him to leave us if he's still available as of Monday. We got tomorrow, we got tonight, get it done, Burgundy and Gold. But yeah, I'm hoping that, like, I doubt we get them, but like guys like Tyrann Mathieu, maybe AJ Johnson at linebacker, there's still guys available. I want us to go be aggressive on Monday, man. Ron Rivera said it himself that they feel like free agency technically starts after the draft. So I'm actually a little optimistic about guys we may bring in. We've already done pretty well with bargain bin shopping, but I hope we go for at least a slightly bigger name right now. But I mean, just the way that we've turned Logan Thomas into who he is, JD McKissick, Wes Schweitzer, Charles Leno, just to name a few. But let's go ahead and talk about these 7th rounders and undrafted free agents. And before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, like I say in all of my videos and live streams, go become a channel member, because I will be doing film sessions on every player we bring in, even undrafted free agents. But that will be for channel members only. I'm gonna try to do a couple of film sessions that I put out for everybody to watch, but my channel members will at the very least get a live reaction of a highlight tape from a player if I can't even get their film session done. So I'm gonna do all that I can to try to react to something to each one of these players that we bring in, again, even including the drafted free agents or even some veteran free agents that we may sign after Monday. So make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Without further ado, let's get it. And just to let y'all know, we currently, after our draft class and after signing an undrafted free agent that we're going to talk about soon, the first one that we'll talk about, we have about like 65 players on our roster. We have 8 draft picks, so we have plenty of space, like around 20 spots that we can fill up on our roster if we want to. So I'm thinking we probably will bring in like 5+ undrafted free agents, but who knows? Maybe we won't. But the spots are definitely there. We're not trying to cram players in. Remember, you're allowed to have 90 players on your roster up until a certain point, like during training camp. And again, we're only in the 70s. So we'll see how we do. But let's go ahead and talk about the 7th round pick first, and then get to the undrafted free agent. All right, so the first one, Chris Paul, interior offensive lineman from Tulsa. And I already know people are doing a whole bunch of Chris Paul jokes. I'm just expecting that. But he is a decent pick for the 7th round. Solid player, like decent player. I think 7th round, that's really good value. And this guy we drafted because of positional flex and high character. Just plain and simple. Those are the 3 reasons we got this guy. Starting with the high character. He was part of the 2021 NCAA's football oversight committee, and he was a strong leader at Tulsa. So that's one. Positional flex. He had 2 years of starting experience at right tackle, 1 year at left guard, and 1 year at right guard. So really the only thing I'm worried about him stepping in as far as depth wise is maybe center, because that's not an easy thing. If you've never played center before, to just try to step in at center, that is not a smooth transition. So, but we got this guy for his positional flex, is high character, as you can clearly see, and also following the theme of drafting a bunch of seniors. I mean, our first 3 picks were all seniors. Our last 2 were straight seniors, including the guy that we're talking about next. Like a lot of our draft picks are like 24 years old plus. So they just want guys that are already fully developed and ready to step in and contribute immediately, not waiting to gain NFL weight or anything like that. That's definitely a thing. Positional flex, a certain level of maturity, both mentally and physically, and of course the high character. I mean, I don't think he has a military background, but when you're part of a committee for the whole entire NCAA, that definitely does say something. And then as far as skill set, right now, he's kind of like a pretty good floor guy, but not much of a ceiling, because he has pretty good technique, he has pretty decent IQ, and he uses his length very well. But like laterally, it's a struggle. He's not the most explosive guy. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest, but he is very competitive. I wouldn't call him a mauler, but he's definitely competitive. So this is just a guy that comes in with a pretty decent floor, not much of a ceiling, but you pretty much know what you're going to get. He's not a mold of clay that we're going to be able to form into whoever we want to. He's not just this high ceiling prospect that you say if he gets the right coaching, he could potentially be a great steal. He's just another safe pick where when in doubt, injury anywhere. If Sadiq Charles is hurt as well, he's a guy that, I mean, I don't think I want him starting at any point his rookie season, but he's basically, we're grooming him to be a depth piece. And to be completely honest, we'll see. I try to be optimistic and I don't wish ill will on the player, but I'm not even exactly sure if he makes the team depending on all that goes down, especially if we bring back a guy like Eric Flowers. Sadiq Charles definitely has priority. Wes Schweitzer has priority. Andrew Norwell. As far as guards go in center, you have Chase Roulier, you have Tyler Larson, but we'll see. Keith Ishmael. We'll see. That's already a fairly crowded offensive line room, especially, again, if you bring back Eric Flowers. So we'll see how he does. I wish the best for all of these guys, but we'll see. Again, with him not having much of a ceiling, but then again, Ron Rivera likes his safe guys. He likes his dependable guys, so I can see him making the roster even though he doesn't have much of a ceiling to really form into anything amazing. He does have a pretty decent floor that, when in doubt, Ron Rivera can probably go to him and depend on him. But he definitely has limited athleticism. Now, he tested very well, but on tape, it just doesn't translate to the tape. I haven't necessarily seen his testing score on the field. His testing score, I feel like, is a little bit above what he actually is on the field. But we'll see, man. Who knows? Maybe I'm tripping. And then next up, with our second 7th round pick, we took cornerback Christian Holmes from Oklahoma State. Now, this is a guy that you can say is kind of a ball of clay that you can mold. You give him some technique, he could end up being a steal with our final pick in the NFL draft. If you look at his RAS, he has a 9.06 score, great size, great explosion with a 39 vert and a 1006 broad jump. His 40 time wasn't spectacular, but it was decent, a 4.54. But on tape, he definitely looks faster than that, and you can also see that with a really good 20 split and a really good 10 split. And then really my only concerns athleticism wise is agility. On tape, he's just not the most agile guy. He struggles with backpedaling. Like, it just doesn't look natural for him to backpedal. And it's a lot of technique things. He struggles to stay low while he's backpedaling. It's a lot of technique issues. And I feel like with better technique, his agility will probably improve because I think he's just naturally athletic. So here's a guy we're going for with ceiling, but at the same time, there's some versatility and some floor to him because as of right now, I see him better for zone. And Jack Del Rio has shown that he really loves zone, even though William Jackson is way better at man coverage than he is in zone coverage. But Jack Del Rio likes zone. This is a zone cover corner, but at the same time, with 31-inch arms, and even on tape, you see him actually play pretty well in press man. So he has that part of his game. So there's the versatility. As you can see, both of these 7th round picks are versatile. They're not scheme dependent. Whatever you need them to do, they can do it at least fairly well. Not great, not even really well, but to a certain extent, there's a certain floor to both of these guys, so I understand them as safe picks. But Christian Holmes also comes with a somewhat of a ceiling, so it's really interesting. He's also a really physical corner. He's definitely a willing tackler. I would prefer improved technique for him to become better at it, but as of right now, he's definitely a very willing tackler. He would get up there at the line of scrimmage and try to do something. Again, another guy where I'm not exactly sure if he makes the roster, but I'm wishing the best for all of these guys, and I see potential in this guy. I see potential in both of these guys I've just discussed, Chris Paul and Christian Holmes, but we'll see. And then so far undrafted free agent wise, we picked up interior offensive lineman Tyrese Robinson. This is another guy that's not scheme dependent. You can run him in a power run scheme. You can do a zone blocking scheme, either way. And here's the guy who's with the competitive toughness that you can probably say is a mauler. This is that guy. This is the angry guy. And then it's kind of hard to evaluate his tape because he played a lot of tackle, and I definitely project him to be a guard. So even though he didn't show really good balance and lateral mobility at the tackle position, I think at guard you can hide a lot of that with him more so moving forward than backwards. Plus, he has a really good anchor. So, I mean, everything just shows he's projected to be a guard. We're bringing him in to compete at guard. I'm intrigued by the fact that they preferred to use a draft pick on Chris Paul and then wait to take this guy as an undrafted free agent. But he was clearly a priority undrafted free agent because 10 minutes after the draft, we signed this guy. So they clearly like both of these guys, but it's interesting that they like Chris Paul a little bit more. Chris Paul, you could definitely say probably has a slightly higher floor, but Tyrese Robinson definitely has the higher ceiling. Because whereas Chris Paul already has pretty good technique that can be improved on, but at the very least, he already comes with some technique, Tyrese Robinson needs quite a bit of improvement, like definitely a noticeable amount more than Chris Paul. So they're both versatile in a way. In different ways though. Chris Paul is versatile as far as you can play him tackle, guard, whatever. So I can see the interest there, why they would prefer Chris Paul over Tyrese Robinson in that way. But Tyrese Robinson is more versatile as far as you can run a power run scheme, zone run scheme, whatever you want to do. As long as you play him at guard, he should be straight at that, especially once you work on his technique. And again, that's his biggest weakness, is technique. To me, Chris Paul's biggest weakness is limited athleticism, especially his footwork, like lateral mobility, struggle. Tyrese Robinson's biggest weakness is the lack of technique, in my opinion. But he's also not just this crazy freak athlete that's just this super high ceiling guy. He does have a really nice ceiling that I'm excited about, but the reason he went undrafted, because some guys with bad technique still get drafted, even somewhere like in the 3rd or 4th rounds, but that's because they're ridiculous athletes. Tyrese Robinson isn't that caliber of athlete, but he is a really good athlete. He's a better athlete, in my opinion, on tape than Chris Paul. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on, the next undrafted free agent that the Washington Commanders signed is linebacker Drew White from Notre Dame. So no, it's not Kyle Hamilton. It's not JOK from last year. And we can start with some of the positives and negatives. And I definitely understand why they're bringing in linebackers to compete, but I'm just not sure. This guy is 6 foot flat, which is not terrible, 228 pounds, but he ran a 4.77 40 time, which is not great at all. He did have a 29 vertical jump, and you can kind of see that on tape. He's slow, and he's also not agile at all. Like, his change of direction is ugly. He's not fluid. Everything just looks unnatural. But he can be explosive at times. He has a knack for forcing fumbles. He can be explosive in coverage, sometimes closing out on routes at the right time. But that 40 time is ugly. Now, granted, he only ran a 40 time once. He injured his hamstring on the second one, I believe, or something like that. So it's just, he's stuck with that 4.77. That's not a good look. So, and it's hard for me to say whether or not he is that slow. Like, I couldn't tell you. On tape, he kind of does look 4.77 slow at times. Not all of the time, but I mean, I just don't necessarily think it's anything to be optimistic about. But this is a decent player to bring in to compete, because who knows, man? Who knows? But I'm also just, if you're not going to be the fastest guy, can you at least be the strongest? And he's not that either. Now, he does have a knack of finding a way to work around blockers, and he definitely has the lateral agility to do that. But as far as like coverage goes, I don't know where the lateral agility goes. But when he's trying to move out the way of an offensive lineman rather than running at them, he can move his feet, for that at least. And sometimes it does look like he can win at the point of attack as far as trying to stack and shed blocks. So there's that. I wouldn't necessarily say he's the best in our linebacker group at that right now. But I mean, Jamin Davis is awful. Cole Holcomb isn't particularly good at it at all either. So I mean, at least he has something that technically the other guys don't have. And that's the potential to be able to stack and shed against guards, centers, and tackles. I mean, we really need that. That's like the main trait we've wanted in a middle linebacker throughout this whole offseason and draft process. But we'll see. And also, I like his instincts. He shows good instinct, so we'll see how this goes. He's an interesting player to bring in and compete. Nothing too special. Again, another guy where I'm not exactly sure if he even makes the team. And we're talking about 90-man roster, 53-man roster. I highly doubt it, but we'll see. Maybe he'll surprise people in camp. Not very optimistic about it. But again, right now, his strongest trait is probably coverage. But his change of direction isn't that good. And he's running a 4.77. I'm not very optimistic about that, but we'll see, man. I'm again, like all of these guys, I'm wishing the best for all of them. I want them all to go out there and compete and live out their dreams in the NFL. So we'll see, man. Man, we just signed 2 more linebackers. We are not playing. That is 1 offensive lineman, undrafted free agent, technically a guard, and that's 3 linebackers. Now granted, the next one I'm about to talk about, Ferarri Garner, first of all, he's my favorite undrafted free agent. Biased though, he's from Atlanta, Georgia. He moved to Ohio in high school, so you know what I'm saying, I'm rooting for him to make the team for sure. I hope he shows out, but he's more of an outside linebacker, whereas the Notre Dame linebacker Drew White is more of a middle linebacker, but there's, like I've already said, a lot of things he needs to work on. And maybe this is like a Buffalo nickel attempt because he's athletic. He does very well in space as far as coverage goes. He's 210 pounds, you can say, about 6 foot even, and with 32-inch arms. So I think this may be another guy being brought in to be the Buffalo nickel, because I think at the end of the day, Percy Butler, with that range, that speed, I think we're definitely going to try to mold him into basically a baby Daxton Hill, a free safety, slot corner whenever you need him to do that. But I think my boy Ferarri Garner, who's a really good athlete, wouldn't necessarily call him a freak athlete, but he does very well in space, and he's smart too. Now, he's not a great tackler. There's a lot of technique things you need to work at. I mean, especially his pad level is usually too high. It's just random stuff like that. But he has really good agility, great short area quickness. So as far as zone coverage, he may be our guy. He's a strong candidate for playing the Buffalo nickel role. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying that he's guaranteed he's an undrafted free agent for a reason, so we'll see. But I like what I've seen in him so far. From the little bit I've watched, I like what I've seen from him. I'm pretty optimistic about this pick. I definitely like him as a player more than Drew White. And no, I'm joking about the Atlanta thing. I think just even as a player, just based on weaknesses and strengths, I like him more projection favorably. I mean, again, Drew White looks like he's going to be like a Mike linebacker. That's what he's competing for. My boy Ferarri Garner looks like he's competing to be one of those Buffalo nickel guys. So he has like Derek Forrest to deal with, kind of Jamin Davis, a little bit of Cameron Curl. Maybe they think about bringing back Landon Collins. And technically, Ron Rivera did say Percy Butler will compete for the Buffalo nickel spot, but I think ultimately that just won't make enough sense. He has too much potential at free safety and slot corner for you to really waste his time with that when you can try to find somebody else to do the Buffalo nickel. And so I like Ferarri Garner. And then the next guy that we picked up, scratch Aaron Hansford. I was really excited about him. Did a whole breakdown in this video. Now I got to edit it out because instead of coming to us, he's going to the Cowboys, which makes me sick. DMV owned. Maybe he grew up a Cowboys fan and that's why he chose them over us. But out of any linebacker that if you included him in our linebacker class, including undrafted free agents, he would have been by far the most athletic. But man, we'll see, man. I'm sad about that, but it is what it is, man. Hopefully the Cowboys end up not wanting them and we somehow find a way to get them through the back door. Now, kind of getting away from undrafted free agents, we have a rookie minicamp invite, which is slightly different from undrafted free agent because he's technically not signed to like a real contract yet. But he's a defensive lineman from Western Ontario, defensive lineman Deionte Knight, 6'4", 270 pounds, and I'm intrigued by this prospect. Anytime we bring somebody over from another country, you gotta perk your ears up because there's some reason that they stick out from the other players in their country. So even though he ran a 5'1", 440 time, which isn't amazing at all, he did have a 26 vert, but he only had 12 bench reps. So I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to do more research on him. I had a better idea of all of the other guys, but not this guy. It's just hard to know about or even find information on a player that is coming from a different country. It's just super difficult. But one thing we do know, he was a 2021 Veneer Cup champion and a recipient of the JP Metro Trophy as the most outstanding lineman of the year in Canada. So we'll see how that goes, man. Bringing some guys in with potential and see how they work out, man. Let's coach him up. Let's coach him up. Again, he's technically not even an undrafted free agent, so we're just bringing him in real quick. Rookie mini camp invite. See what he can do, man. Talk to me. Show us what you can do, man. This is a great opportunity, man, to get to the NFL. And boy, we, within the past couple of months, have a pretty big need in defensive line depth. So, hey, man, it's your time to shine. Next up, you have wide receiver Jaquez Ezzard from Sam Houston State. He's 5'9", 190 pounds, which is built kind of big for a guy that's 5'9", and he ran a 4.43, which isn't bad. I mean, when you think of the height 5'9" and running a 4.43, you're like, I prefer a little bit faster. But when you think about the fact that he's 190 pounds, he's built a little, you know what I'm saying? I'm intrigued by him, for sure. And he's just ceiling guy. And that's what you do with undrafted free agents. I mean, unless you have like a really big team need at something, and that's why we went and got a couple of safe guards with a somewhat of a floor. But with receiver, we have so many guys now. If you're going to bring in more receivers, go with the ceiling guys. And this guy's super quick, acceleration, everything. People literally thinks he's like could potentially be an Antonio Brown type of player. Like, I mean, same play style, same body type, speed, quickness, all of that. I mean, really good hands. He's just one of those lesser known guys we got to see. I mean, from what I've seen so far, his biggest problem is that he tends to try to catch with his chest instead of his hands sometimes. And that can definitely be a problem, especially on deep throws. We need you to track the ball down and go up and snag it. And now that I think about it, I'm really happy that we're, you know, I was scared that I was afraid that we may have another year where we only bring in one undrafted free agent, but now we're going crazy. We're actually bringing guys in. And then, of course, with somebody with the size of Jaquez Ezzard, I mean, when you're that small, you're going to have durability concerns. And, I mean, he's going to get press manned on the outside, so you're probably going to have him be in the slot. But, I mean, with that athleticism, that shiftiness, that speed, all of that, I can definitely see him potentially being our star returner, because Jahan Dotson could potentially be a really good returner for us. And initially when we first drafted him, I thought he would. But what if he ends up being such a good receiver they don't want to risk it? Just like with Terry McLaurin, he was supposed to be the gunner, and then he was just so good, we were like, nah, don't even think about special teams. You're too valuable. So I think maybe they're bringing in Jaquez Ezzard to be our return guy, to be the replacement for DeAndre Carter. And I think he's electric enough to definitely do that. I just think with the freak athleticism that he brings, the elite quickness, the elite speed, acceleration, and all of that, I think that's what they may be bringing him in here for the most part. Now, of course, they're going to want him to compete as a receiver, and you never know, you may have a gem on your hands at receiver. But, I mean, until he can work on the way that he catches, I don't know about receiver. And I'm a little afraid about the return game as well if he can't catch. But then again, in the return game, you're normally catching it with your chest anyway, and he's a chest catcher. So that may actually suit him very well, to be completely honest. But yeah, I think he can make this team as a strong special teams contributor, especially in the run game. We'll see, though. I'm excited about him. Man, now that really hurt me that we're really for real not getting Aaron Hansford. Whoever tweeted that we were initially, man, don't play with my heart like that, man. You can't do stuff like that, because he was definitely going to be my favorite undrafted free agent that we bringing in. So that's some hate, man. I mean, again, my boy Ferarri Garner from Atlanta, you know, for bias reasons, he's my favorite. But if we're just talking about pure player, if we're talking about ceiling, if we're talking about potential, a guy out of any of these guys that we brought in since the 7th round, any guy that we brought in after Cole Turner, the guy who I feel like has the highest ceiling, the best potential to end up being a really good player at the NFL level, it was him. So I'm sick the Cowboys got him. I don't know what happened, but man, they stole one from us, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Two more players. We signed cornerback Devin Taylor from Bowling Green, and this is by far the biggest head scratcher out of any of the guys that really we've taken in the draft or as an undrafted free agent, because this guy, I mean, undrafted free agent wise, go for ceiling. I mean, like I've already said earlier in the video, there's reasons you may go for floor, but this guy has neither. And to have a 1.47 RAS at 5'11", 191 pounds, wasn't explosive, 31.5 vertical, broad jump was 907, ran a 4.6 440 time, shuttle was 4.56, three cone was 7.2. I'm not understanding this one at all. Like I literally don't. This one I don't know. I don't get this one. So we're going to move on to the next one. And that's quarterback Cole Kelly, quarterback from Southern Louisiana. 6'7", huge guy. Hey, man, this is another Steven Montez type of thing. That's what we're doing. Steven Montez again. I mean, of course, with him being 6'7", 260 pounds. He's literally what they consider the ideal weight for a quarterback, the prototypical quarterback weight that you're looking for. And so it makes sense. And even with this frame, he even has the type of frame you can add a little bit more weight onto him. So are you trying to just clone Carson Wentz here with a guy that's even bigger? And he is athletic. He's not super mobile. I mean, granted, when you're 6'7", you're just not going to be able to move that fast anyway. But like Carson Wentz, he's mobile enough. Not crazy fast, but definitely good enough overall. And then he's actually not terribly inaccurate. He's inconsistent, but at times his accuracy is on point. And of course, I mean, being that big again, who's going to want to tackle that guy? Now, I am definitely afraid that he may be another Paxton Lynch, another Brock Osweiler, because, I mean, the decision making really bad. Again, the accuracy very inconsistent. And also, like, his throwing motion with him being so big is kind of robotic. And it's kind of slow. I don't like that at all. And he's also one of those guys that, now, there's a difference between accuracy and touch. Accuracy is getting the ball to the receiver and it not, getting near a DB for them to pick it off, basically. That's the best way to put it. Touch is throwing it in the perfect spot to where the receiver can run after the catch as well. He has no touch as far as that goes. I mean, touch, you can also say, is like, if you need to throw a rainbow, do you need to throw a dart here, whatever you got to do, change throwing motions, all that type of stuff. He doesn't really have that either. Now, there's traits to work with. Of course, bigger arm guy, can throw deep down the field, but Steven Montez, literally, basically. I mean, you could argue he may actually be a safer bet than Steven Montez, but he's still extremely raw. Like, safer Steven Montez is still not safe. I guess the best way to word it is he's a little less risky, but he's still a very risky guy. There's a reason he went undrafted. There's a reason a lot of us don't want him, but it's interesting that we're bringing him in. We're going to see him at camp. I think, again, he's basically just going to be another Steven Montez. I'm afraid he'll be another Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch, any of those guys, but we'll see, man. I mean, Sam Howell definitely looks like the future. Carson Wentz looks like the now. We'll see how that goes, though. But even as many negatives Cole Kelly has, he's nowhere near as much of a head scratcher as Devin Taylor. That cornerback from Bowling Green, I'm just not getting it. I mean, besides the fact that he is a high IQ player, he's smart, good instincts, and he's a very willing tackler. Like, everything mental, he's got it down pat. Like, everything mental. Instincts, IQ, coverage awareness, and he's a very willing tackler, which is mental. A lot of corners are afraid to even get down and dirty in the trenches. He's not. He's perfectly willing to. But the lack of athleticism and pretty much just being raw in every other way, yeah, it's a head scratcher. But I mean, hey, maybe they just want to bring in a high IQ guy and see what happens. Remember, Cameron Curl was not athletic at all, and he's fairly raw, and that worked out very well. So who knows? Maybe the next Cameron Curl. Highly doubt it. But who knows, man? And here comes another free agent. Every time I start watching film on our draft class, as I'm preparing to do these film sessions for them, I just get a notification we signed somebody else. And now it's tight end Curtis Hodges from Arizona State. 6'8", 240 pounds. They're going with size, and they're basically just saying we're going to figure the rest out. 34-inch arms. Yeah, they're not playing. An 83 and 3/8 wingspan. Golly, man. And definitely a high ceiling. Even though 240 pounds, 6'8", 240 pounds is fairly skinny. I wouldn't say skinny. I would say more so lean, but I mean, he's pretty quick. He's athletic. He definitely has enough speed to be like a vertical threat, somewhere kind of in the range of a Cole Turner, maybe a little bit faster than that. And then, of course, with him being 6'8" with 34-inch arms, catch radius crazy, 50-50 ball game stupid. So there's that to build on. But at the same time, not very strong. And of course, with him being 6'8", if your legs aren't strong, people just gonna take your legs up under you. They're just gonna go dive at your knees every play, which kind of sucks and puts him at risk of injury. He doesn't have much yak ability because of that strength. First of all, he's not that fast. He's fairly fast for his size, but he's not fast enough to outrun DBs and stuff yak wise. And he's also not strong enough to really get yak yardage that much. I mean, he'll probably carry a guy a little bit. I mean, 6'8", 240, somebody try to latch onto his back, he may be able to still continue after that. But a guy approaching him from the front or the side, it's not much yak yardage there. And then also he doesn't have good hands yet. You're gonna have to work on that. But again, with his frame, you can add muscle there for sure. You could definitely, 6'8", he's 240 currently. You can get him probably up to 250, almost 260 for sure, just based on his frame. And then again, he doesn't track the ball well down the field, and he's pretty raw as a blocker as well. But there's potential there. This is a high ceiling guy. I'm always going to be happy about a high ceiling guy. 6'8", 240-pound tight end. He ran a 4.85, which isn't terrible. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I mean, Jalen Wademeyer, isn't he still technically available out there? Is he not even signed yet? This is really interesting. And that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about all of these guys that we brought in later is in the 7th round and these undrafted free agents. How many of them do you feel like will actually make the team? Like, who will actually be on the 53-man roster, or at the very least make the practice squad? And which players do you feel like will be those guys? And also, do you feel like we're going to even try to go get some of those free agents? Are we going to try to bring back Eric Flowers, Landon Collins? Are we going to try to go and get a Tyrann Mathieu, AJ Johnson, one of those guys, a veteran at tight end or linebacker or something like that? Definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about that. Also, let me know how you feel about just the draft overall. I will be working on an overall draft review and grade. We're going to go pick by pick and just my overall feel for the entire draft. So I'm going to just do a complete overview of the entire draft, a complete breakdown analysis and all of that. That'll probably come out tomorrow or Monday. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, I appreciate all of my supporters, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.